Okay.
Yeah,
We're doing this. Can y'all see my screen?
can. Crystal clear.
Cool. Well, wait until people start joining.
Sounds good.
Cool. What did y'all eat for breakfast
Today?
today? Yeah.
I had chocolate chip protein pancakes.
Ooh.
Wait. Whoa.
Yeah.
That sounds like that slaps.
Yeah, dude. That's like been my go-to thing. I don't get enough protein, so I'm like a protein pancake stack with chocolate chips.
Yo, I'm kind of jealous.
Hey, it's super easy to make.
You just boring egg bites. Trader
Wait, those
Joe's.
are fire too.
They are good, and they keep you going all day, which is
Yeah.
the nice part. They're quick and easy, but it's not beating yours for sure. You start in the morning right.
Yeah,
They're actually really easy to make. I've just learned how to make them a couple months ago, and I make them like 3 times a week.
I really need this now. What I had was like strawberries, and I was like murking some strawberries. And you're over here, I got some protein chocolate.
Yeah.
She had time this morning.
Yeah, seriously, that's what I need to get on.
What else do you usually eat? I tried to get on the oatmeal hype, but oatmeal is just not for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The process of eating oatmeal, it makes me feel slow. I don't know, y'all. It's just not it. But
I feel that for sure.
Smoked salmon, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that, 100%.
The eggs and avocado are really good, but on a toast, like an avocado toast with an egg on top, that's over easy. Yum.
The other day, it was a truffle egg sandwich, y'all. This thing was so good.
Wait, hot take, I don't like truffle. I don't know why. I can't get into truffle fries, truffle pasta. Gonna get a lot of hate.
It's a little too much. But if it's the right amount, it's perfect.
In the webinar.
Hey, somebody agreed with me in the comments, okay? They're not a truffle fan either.
It's too funny. It's too funny.
3 eggs, 3 sausages for 30 grams of protein for breakfast, girl. I love that.
Well, we'll give it another minute and then get started. I was actually going to ask if y'all are listening to any good holiday music now, because we're doing 3 plays to beat the holiday slump.
You've got it all over the house right now.
I have a song that y'all are not prepared for.
Okay.
And if anyone in the comments listens to this as well, you become my favorite person. But my parents hate, I'm hyping this up. My parents hate it every time I play it because my dad's like, that's not Christmas music. I'm like, it is. So rest in peace, DMX, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. If you have not listened to this song, it slaps. Yo.
It was just posted in our Slack channel like 3 days ago.
You have fans in the comments now agreeing with
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. What? How do you not get lit? Yo, it's so good. Yo.
Okay, I need to listen to this. And Morgan, send it to me after this webinar.
Oh, 100%. It slaps so hard. So yeah, that's mine. That's mine.
I'm a Cascade fan, so Cascade always drops a new Christmas album every year. And this year, the Jingle Bells song was so good.
I'm just simple Mariah Carey. All I want for Christmas. It's just too easy.
That's a classic.
Just gets you in the mood every single time.
Shout out to Cascade. Saw him live. Really good.
Amazing. But let's get into it. So thank you everyone for joining. We've got Morgan and Derek with us today to talk about the 3 plays to beat the holiday slump. A little bit about me. I'm Nehal. I'm the lead content marketing manager here at Clary. I help around with the webinars, the social, and I'm excited to be on this chat with both of these two. I haven't moderated something in a while. So thank you for being on, Morgan and Derek.
Absolutely. Excited to be here.
Yeah, y'all. Do you guys want to give a little bit of an intro?
Yeah, absolutely. So, former sales trainer at JB Sales. I've trained Google, Slack, Snowflake, all the high growth companies on top of the full strategy. So all the things I'm going to talk about today are from that experience. And then now I run my own company called AMP, and we do pipeline marketing services, helping companies acquire pipeline through content. So excited to be here.
Love that. And myself, Derek Antti, manage sales development teams here at Clary. I've got 4 different focused groups across the org that are all focused on things from net new logo expansion to upsell, cross-sell to formally industries expansion. SDR lifer. I've loved it ever since I've started at about 2018. We were just talking about that earlier. Been a longtime fan of Morgan's. He's the reason why I'm in this role 100%. So this is a full circle moment for me to kind of go through this today with you. And I'm excited to share some of the tips and tricks that some folks that I've learned from over the course of my career, and also that we just had a chance to go through the archives together through all of Morgan's old content and bring you out some of the old gems. So excited to be here and get this thing rocking.
Yeah, right before this webinar, we were just saying how Morgan started back in 2016. So he's been around a really long time, not to date you or anything.
Like I'm ancient now.
So here's a quick agenda of what we're doing today, what we're going to be chatting about. We're going to talk about the struggles of selling during the holidays. We're going to be talking about the importance of Q4 planning, the top 3 plays to beat the slump, so you don't have to be a Grinch this holiday season like the gift shows, GIF or GIF. Let's not get into another argument over this in the comments. And then we'll do a live Q&A. So post your questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring it, and then also having Morgan and Derek answer towards the end. The one thing I always like to say is that the webinar is being recorded. So we promise to send you a recording in 24 hours if you got to jet to another meeting. I get it. I've been there. So real quick, let's start with the poll. Do you struggle selling during the holiday slump? Morgan, Derek, what's it been like for you?
It's interesting now because of the shift that Salesforce started their fiscal in February, and now a lot of companies have started to do the same. So the slump becomes more interesting because people are like, well, their fiscal's not ending at the end of the year. So they're like, well, we're actually planning in January. So it creates this weird element where like people will be like, yo, like I'm not going to talk to you until January because our fiscal ends at that month. So they have a little bit more of, I guess, an excuse to be like to push you out. And so there's a little bit of that slump there because now they have another month to make a decision where like if you're on a fiscal December, it's like, wait, but my fiscal's in. So it creates, I think, a different conversation because everyone is ending differently. And I also think as well, just like with everything that is going on, I think people are taking the holidays even more serious than they were before, right? People are just like, it's been an exhausting year for a lot of things that have happened. So a lot of people are like, I'm going to take time off, to be more lax, things of that nature. So yeah, I think there is a slump there. And I think that's why I encourage everyone right now, like, we're going to go over a couple plays to just be literally reaching out to everyone because like everyone that I'm talking to in a sales cycle, they're like, we're now just starting planning, or like our planning is this week. We have our offsite next week. So you just got to be in the conversation. Will those always lead to closed ones? No, but you need to be in the conversation. You need to know what you do, what you're about, so you can start at least trying to figure out, can we work together?
Yeah, it looks like a lot of you answered actually in the polls that you need help and it's been rough out here. And it's because closing deals during the holiday can feel like a dumpster fire. This is exactly how folks feel. There's so many reasons why, because meetings are pushed, deals are slipping, and forecasts are falling. And while Q4 is the most wonderful time of the year, it is also the most important time of the year based on everything Morgan just said. And the biggest reason for that is because win rates actually drop 66% when a deal slips into the next quarter. And the Home Alone face says it all. That's exactly how we feel. And Q4 being the hardest. And so, Derek, can you talk a little bit about Q4 planning and what that looks like? Because this stat is pretty alarming.
Yeah, no, it's scary out there. And I think that Morgan touched on a lot of it just now in the sense of that when you think about the fiscal year now, it's January, I think just gives us another 30 days of buy time to go think through what it is that we're going to be consolidating across our tech stacks, how we're going to be meeting as a team, what those offsites look like. And all the players are really thinking about like what's next for them in the next fiscal year. And so when you're sitting there thinking, okay, how do I start to fit in this vendor evaluation, or how do I get this demo on my calendar, or how do I make sure my team gets a trial kicked off in a time period where there's a lot of change going on in organizations, it starts to get super difficult to make sure that you're not being annoying to your prospects. I think that's the number one thing, right? Is we all understand that it's busy. It's busy for a lot of us internally. But at the same time, like, how do you make sure that you're a priority and that you're actually going to get what should help the organization be better, faster, stronger in the next year on top of their plates as a priority? Make sure your champions are allocating time for those X, Y, and Z aspects of that closed deal. So I think that at the end of the day, it's rough, and we have some good opportunities to help you a little bit in some of these things that we'll get into later in the webinar. But we wanted to make sure that everybody understands that it's not just them. And if you're experiencing it, hopefully you'll walk away with this webinar today feeling a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, before we get into the plays, I do want to ask, based on what you just said, is have your deals started slipping into 2024? The polls again are on the top right. I would love to just hear from everybody if they have stories. Also, you can throw it in the chat or write a comment because 66%, that's, you can't get over that stat.
That's a crazy stat.
In talking to my network, it's happening everywhere right now. I can't believe that stat. And I think that kind of to what we talked about earlier as well is, getting to that relationship with the prospect that you're working with and making sure that you have clear expectations of, is this actually happening? Are they seeing other projects get pushed off? Or is other things that might be happening across the business, like acquisitions or mergers or potential plans to expand or maybe even pull back a little bit on teams as we head into next year, all kind of contributing to what looks like a bleak end of the quarter for most orgs. So I think that it's all about making sure that you're paying attention to those signals and getting in front of what you can, with also knowing that there is going to be some slippage. It happens, right? And there's not always an opportunity as a seller to make magic happen, but we're going to try to help to make sure that happens today a little bit more, at least.
Yeah. And with that being said, Derek, you want to talk about your first play, the no value prop email.
Yeah. So just to kind of give everybody a little bit of background before we dive in, like I mentioned, Morgan and I have been working together on this for the last couple of weeks. And the first step that we did was just go back into the archives of SDR Chronicles. And so if anyone hasn't, I think like number one call out is go back and learn some of the fundamentals. And we talked about this before we got started, is like, what are those fundamental things that you remember doing early in your career? Or maybe if you're a longtime follower of Morgan, that you've learned across all of his videos and content. And this is the one that stood out to me as like, people just aren't doing this anymore. And I think it's a matter of, we're using so many tools and technologies. There's AI now, you have Chat GPT, you have all these different aspects of creating the perfect email. When in reality, it's almost like we need to get a little bit more human-like, right? And just say what we want and say what we need. And so we'll talk a little bit more and show an example of what the no value prop email looks like. But just to kick us off, Morgan, like, when you think about the no value prop email, as simple as it can be, do you feel like people are just not doing this enough right now?
Yeah. And some of you are like, wait, how do I sell a meeting without a value prop? Some people are like, what does this even mean? All right. So I want to set something up for y'all. So anybody in here, you into like gardening? Anybody in here? Let me know in the chat. I'm not at all. I'm not going to come with an expertise on here's how I garden. But if you garden, this is gonna make sense to you, right? So the value prop email is how you can start planting seeds that can then grow into something in the future. So every single time that you do anything related to sales or prospecting, we're always like, how can we think about things differently? That's been my philosophy literally since the beginning of time. It's like, okay, everybody's doing this. How can I do it differently, right? Because that's how you really beat the edge. So I'm planting seeds with these value prop emails because everyone's always immediately trying to get the meeting, but I'm just trying to plant the seed. So an example of that seed, and we'll actually have more examples of this, but I'm going to give you like conceptually what this means, is I'll just say like, hi, Sally, I just was talking to marketing and we just had our number one downloaded report for your role as a VP of marketing called X. Want to see it? That's it, right? I didn't talk about my company. I didn't give you like a whole spill. I'm just giving you a report that has been downloaded a lot due to the data. Your peers like this, and now I'm giving it to you, right? No value prop email. So that's like an example of that. Every person here on the call can go talk to marketing and say, what are the top 3 downloaded assets? What were the personas that downloaded them the most? Run a campaign to those personas and say, hey, this is a number one downloaded thing that we have. Here's what's in the report. You could do 3 bullet points and then do a quick call to action and say, hey, like, want to see it? And that's it. You're not looking for a meeting. You're not trying to, that's a way that you can plant the seeds if you're not getting responses, right? And so this no value prop email is a good way to get people engaged, get them reading. You also, if you want to take it to the next level, you literally could do a video and screen share the ebook as well, certain parts that are highlighted. Hey, this is a really good part and I want to show you. So for all my gardeners out there, hopefully that connected. But if you don't do that like me, I just feel like that's probably one of the best emails you can send. Probably 3rd or 4th touch is when you're looking to do that as well. So just want to throw that out there for people.
When's the ideal time to send something like this if the holidays are coming around?
I would actually start doing this probably starting on Friday. December 1st is Friday. So I'd start doing it in December. Like right now, like to be like super transparent with y'all, what you probably got, and let me look at the calendar right now. December 15th. This is always my marker, right? December 15th is a Friday, and then you roll right into the 18th on Monday. Most people that week, like half people are going to be off. Now, you actually have a unique, you actually will uniquely, though, be positioned because C-suites are going to be working because they're trying to like close everything out because Christmas is on a Monday. So most people are probably going to take off Friday, the 22nd, and they're going to take Monday, the 25th. They'll probably work a little bit because the 1st is on a Monday. So I'm strategically looking at December like months ahead to be like, how are people going to like think and operate? This is how I think about it, right? So the 18th is actually a really great week to also send these out because executives won't have as much noise. So you'll actually be able to get in front of their inbox, and you're not asking for time because they're not going to want to meet with you. They're trying to listen to Mariah Carey and DMX, right? They ain't trying to hear you. So what they want to see though is a no value prop email giving them some insights. So that would be like how I would think about it. You got to be super cerebral when it comes to December.
Definitely. And if you want to shoot over to the next slide for us, Nehal, here's an example, and we'll be sharing these out after the call here. But one of the things that we can do with Groove and that we can do with our teams is think about how we can templatize this a little bit more. So when you think about exactly what we just talked about, this is a perfect example of just ran the numbers over 1,000 of your peers downloaded this asset. Given your title and role, it's like start out with value. Value doesn't have to be why your company is valuable. I think that's the big mistake that a lot of us make is we need to get in front of someone and get them to think a little bit differently and want to get them excited to come engage with us. When in reality, it's like, just give me something valuable that makes my head turn a little bit. And now you've got my attention. And from there, we know it's a busy time of the year. We know it's going to be hard to get on that calendar. Try to make it easy for them and be a human about it. Make sure that you know that you're calling out that internal and external teams are all busy. And I think that as sellers at the very end of the day, the hardest part is you also have to think about your internal stakeholders and if they're available. You know that when you're thinking about closing deals in Q4 and you're thinking about all of the different aspects of the internal and external teams that are needed for those conversations, they're also busy too and might be on PTO that week of the 15th or the 18th or whatever it may be, right? And so with Groove, we do make it a little bit easier for you to schedule those kind of things. When you're using a Groove scheduler, you can bring in your solutions engineer, maybe someone on deal desk that's helping to support that opportunity and make sure that they're also all available too. So as I mentioned, we're going to send out a couple of these plays after the call that Morgan and I put together for you all. And I think this is just a good example of how you can start to scale out this approach with all of your stakeholders and all of your prospects that you're working with as it starts to get a little murky at the end of these next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Should we get into play 2 now, Derek? Because I love this no value prop one.
All right. So ramping LinkedIn as a channel. And so Morgan and I sat down and we talked about this one because there's a couple different ways to look at this. I think most people will think, okay, does that mean I need to start posting more on LinkedIn? Does that mean that I need to start getting into maybe group channels and making sure that I'm posting thought leadership content or something along those lines? Or is this just simply sending more in-mails and being annoying and getting in front of people, right? I think at the end of the day, what we're talking about is LinkedIn's changed. Like people are definitely connecting more on LinkedIn than I think they ever have in the past, but it needs to be a more human-centered approach, right? And so what that means is providing some of that valuable content, maybe as we get closer to the holidays, thinking about things like weekends. I know Sundays is a great day to get responses from executives. So if you have an executive buyer that you're working with, what better way to continue to use those social channels to make sure that you're getting in front of them in times where they might be traveling or running around doing things with their families, but that LinkedIn stays in your pocket every single time. That email doesn't, the phone call isn't always available either. So Morgan, my question for you is, how have you seen LinkedIn evolve since back in 2016? I mean, you could send some cold emails and hopefully get some good conversations going, but how are people using it as a way to stay in front of their customers and prospects in a time where it's super busy and not trying to be in that inbox constantly and being that annoying sales rep?
Yeah, y'all, look, in 2016 LinkedIn, I low-key felt like Steph Curry. I'm not gonna lie. Because you could just shoot from anywhere. Like, I don't know if y'all remember, let me know in the chat if y'all like remember LinkedIn 2016. Because like they just came out with like the post button. Because I started posting, they literally just did. It was like, oh, we can post now. Like, I just was like, I guess I could do that, right? And then also as well, they had LinkedIn Pulse, so that was like pretty much it. And then also as well, the reason you could just do so much on LinkedIn is because they didn't have any limits. So you could send like so many connection requests and they would not stop you. Now you can't do that, but I would send out like thousands. And then also as well, you could find everyone's email address. So it was like right there. Like you didn't have to go use these backend tools. And then I would just take my emails that I did in like my campaign and I would just copy paste them and put them into LinkedIn messages. I don't recommend this today, by the way. So don't take this clip and be like Morgan's saying go crazy with it. But that's what it was. And so now it's completely different because more people are posting, more people are online. And if they're not posting, they're active in some way, right? They're engaging with other people. And you have more capabilities. You can send videos to people first degree. You can send voice notes. So the way that you have to think about now, back in 2016, it was like, how do I just convert? I was just like, how do I just put out a lot of volume, to be transparent? Now I'm thinking about how do I connect? Mm-hmm. Those are two different mindsets, right? From converting to connecting. Now, the connecting does lead to the convert, but you have to take that additional step. And there's a lot of great people who break this down, like Dunlap and things of that nature. But what I will tell you all right now, I'm looking at it right now, and this is probably, if you have Sales Nav, this is what you need to do immediately after this call. So put a 1 in the chat if you have Sales Nav, because I'm basically going to follow up with you and say, did you do it? No, I'm not going to be that aggressive, but the thing is, but if you have Sales Nav, you need to do this actually immediately. Like I'm telling you right now, like this is a game changer.
Everyone's got it. Look at that. The chat's going crazy.
Chat's going nuts. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the one. I'll give you two. The first thing is they posted on LinkedIn. So I clicked this button on here, right? It has 17 million people. 17 million people have posted on LinkedIn in the past 90 days. Now, I haven't filtered it. That's just overall. Now, if you go to your buyer persona, let's just say, okay, I'm going after marketing, right? I'm typing in it right now. And I'm like, you know what? I want to go after some VPs and directs. And I'm going to tell you why this works. So there's 110,000 people who have posted on LinkedIn in the past 90 days. That's an executive marketer. Now, these can be reposted, things of that nature, and they might all be applicable. I'm telling you all this because if you comment on an executive's post, they don't have that many comments, right? They actually don't have that many comments. So the thing is if you're commenting on their post, they're going to be like, wow, that's great. But here's what, do not do this. Don't be like, hey, that was a great post, or like, oh, like, this is a great share. Like, please don't do that, because then that's not what I told you to do.
Not genuine.
It's not genuine at all. And like, you're going to be seen as an AI bot, right? Nobody wants that. You have to be thoughtful. And you have to think about this is because people are like, wait, what's the new strategy? How do I do a new outbound channel? Content in a way is a new outbound channel, but commenting is like my new thing of how to actually get in front of people. If you can do a really thoughtful comment and people will see it, they're going to like it or engage it. So the next time you send an email or send them a message, they're going to remember that you commented and engaged. So this is actually a new outbound channel, a new play that maybe you haven't thought of before, but now you can go execute on. So again, I'm looking at this right here. And I'm like, this is a great way to get in front of people. You can also see people who viewed your profile, right? But when you think about LinkedIn, it isn't go get a studio and a mic and go be a creator. That's not for everybody. However, you need to go and engage with where your buyers are at. And if you comment, how the algorithm works is other people are going to see you're commenting on those posts and they're going to see you more. So that's just the way I think about it.
So one tip that I always like to say actually is around similar to that, but go on the execs page that you're on and turn on the bell notification button. When you turn the bell on, you get a notification every time they post. And I've worked with a lot of execs on their social media accounts, and execs are on just to post for about 2-3 minutes, and then they'll log off. So if they can see your notification in those 2-3 minutes that you've commented, you've got their attention and they will remember who you are. And so the bell notification, turn that on.
That's a smart one. One question I have for you, Morgan, on this topic, and I think this is a controversial one. Take LinkedIn out of the equation for a second here. When you think about social as a channel in general, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, I guess it's X now, Instagram or anything along those lines, I came across a really, really interesting post. I think it was on TikTok actually, around a strategy where a salesperson created a personal Instagram account and they would connect with their prospects. And think about an AE who has in-flight deals where they're actually building relationships with someone. and they ask and they kind of market their Instagram page as a landing page for all things that they do, both personally and professionally. So you might see some of those assets get posted on there that are valuable for kind of the folks that they're working with, or you might see just, hey, a family photo with them and their family and their dog, to try to keep folks engaged over the holidays. What are your thoughts on stepping away from kind of those traditional LinkedIn social media platforms and potentially stepping into something like Instagram to do that sort of an approach?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. So essentially, the only thing that we should all care about is, where are your buyers living? So if they're on X, Twitter, great. You need to be on there, right? If they are on Snapchat, you probably should figure that out. If they're on Pinterest, that's great. If somehow, I don't know how this would be possible, they're on MySpace, guess what? I'm creating a MySpace account. I'm getting top friends, and I'm going to get my background music back. I don't really care. The thing is that what happens is most people get married to the channel and not married to the process. So if all my buyers end up just going to Instagram, I'm just going to go figure out Instagram. It just so happens my buyer's on LinkedIn, so I figured out LinkedIn. So that's like advice to anyone. I've worked with teams that they would be on Facebook because they went after spa owners, gym owners. They're not on LinkedIn. They're on Facebook. So guess what? That's where we're going to engage them. So you have to go where your audience is living and engage with them on their terms, and then get in front of those people.
A question for you that's in the comments is, what kind of message should you send to your prospects that are your connections already on LinkedIn?
Oh, I have a controversial take on this.
Oh, we love controversy. Say it.
All right, everyone. See, buyers get upset with this one. I see posts on it. People disagree, but I have the data, and it hasn't proven me wrong yet. So the thing is, let's talk about the message. When people say message, that could either be the in-mail or the DM. My controversial take is, in-mails, for the most part, are a waste of your time. Now, I'm not saying don't do them. I'm just saying they're going to be probably a waste of your time. The response rates on those have decreased year after year after year. Most people don't even realize it's a separate inbox. It's just a waste of your time overall, just to be transparent with you. I guarantee you most people in here might not even know they actually have another inbox in Sales Nav, and you probably have 1,000 messages that you just completely missed. And I didn't even know that until like someone told me. So that's first and foremost. In terms of the message itself, the connection request, which is my controversial take, that needs to be a blank note. So that means that you don't personalize the connection request. You just send the connection request. But don't do this at like high velocity, because you will get flagged. But we've seen a higher acceptance rate. And then my take on this is 3 lanes. So you either do a voice note, a video, or you ask a question related to their industry so you can start a conversation. The days of what I told you in 2016, copy and pasting an email, that just doesn't work as much anymore. And if you're pitch slapping, you already know how that's going to work. So that's my that's my context.
I almost think like too, I'll add is almost think about it as like more of a texting basis. It's like, how would you meet a new person or a new friend that you just met at a party or an event, a couple of weeks ago? You're not just going to come in super hot. Hey, Morgan, I'd love to meet you. We both love sports and we should be best friends, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense from that perspective. I think that think about maybe bringing up something thoughtful, to your point, if you're going to do more of a text-based approach, but having that video or having something that helps you to stand out from the noise and just be a little bit more of a person on the other end and say, hey, there's a couple different opportunities for me to potentially help you. That conversation needs to happen after you build the relationship. So think about the texting relationship as first, and then the pitch or the potential offer of value much later down the line. I mean, and people that I've seen that do this really well may even have back and forth conversations with prospects for weeks that are nothing to do with booking a meeting or getting time with them, right? It's about what's in front of them, what are their priorities, what are they working on, being hyper curious, and then taking that to some sort of a value prop later on down the line when it makes sense. And that could be something like an event you invite them to. I know every single org events have ramped huge this year, and everybody has something going on every single month. Just soft touches to get people kind of more introduced to what you do, your community that you're building, the community that your company is building. And people will naturally want to start to talk to you and take the time to actually go learn about what your product does.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's a really good one. I think the next play also kind of ties into all of this, but is also one of my favorites because I love the name of it, Derek. So do you want to go with that one?
Yep, let's pop through. So this one, I think for anybody at Clary, you're going to be saying, we know this one, we're doing it every single day. And the funny part about this is when Morgan and I sat here and talked about this, he was like, what about close loss campaigns or our Wake the Dead approaches. And I was like, that's table stakes for us. Like we're doing that every single quarter, but we're surprised how many people aren't doing it. I mean, it's insane to me that you have all of this data across in your CRM around who you talk to, what the data points were, what you can use to inform what that next message might be or how that follow-up could be, to be super relevant and strong, especially in a time where you have to be bringing value to the table and you have to be making sure that you're touching on pain points, or else nobody's going to give you the time of day, especially as we're working through these last couple of weeks of the quarter. So Morgan, what are your thoughts on Wake the Dead? How can people get started? And we do have an example to share with everybody, but we'll get there in a second here.
Y'all got it. Y'all got to be waking the dead here. So the way that I go about it is, for most of you that see my content, I do a video approach. I feel like it's the closest thing I could do to get like an in-person connect, right? So what I'll do is most people in their CRM, you have a reason on why that person didn't close. So I have like close loss reason, and I have notes in there, right, across the board of like what happened, right? So then I'll go make the video. It's like less than 45 seconds. This doesn't need to be that deep, to be fair. And I make it and say, hey, reason I'm reaching out. Last time we talked in like March, you said that this was going on. I did some research, right, and noticed this. Let's now talk about this. So it's incredibly important that you do the research again. What happens is people just say, here's the close loss reason, so that let's talk. It's like, here's the close loss reason. I re-researched you, and here's what I found now. Here's what we're doing now. Let's talk about it. So I've actually been doing this as we speak. I've been going through all the deals that didn't go off or like something happened, whatever. And I'm saying, hey, here's the reason why this was close lost, right? Here's what you told me. I did some research and I see this is what you're looking to do now. This is what I am now doing. Can we chat? That flow and framework will wake a lot of people up. And you literally can just pull the report and rip videos. That's what I do. I like to time block it. I'll do like however many videos it takes. And that seems to really connect with the person as well.
I love that. And if we want to shoot over to the next slide, Nehal, I think this will give everybody a little bit of an example of what this actually looks like here in Clary. So what we put together was our entire flow cadence of emails, LinkedIn touches, and emails for you all to go take advantage of. And inside of these variables, you'll see exactly to Morgan's point, it's all spelled out of exactly what you should be looking for in your CRM to make sure that you're showing up as relevant as possible. Again, though, for everybody on this call, you have to personalize. You were the one on that conversation for the most part and understand who the players are, what's important to them, and you have to take it to the next level. You can't just send this and press go, right? But at the end of the day, being a little bit more informed about what's going into that message and how that all trickles down across the entire flow, you're going to have that as a takeaway from this call today moving forward. The last thing that I wanted to call out here, though, is that within something like Groove or any type of sales engagement platform, what you should also be thinking about is what other segments can you be putting your close lost prospects into, right? So for us on the example here on the left, you can see we have something built for our healthcare and life sciences accounts. We have something built for any competitor. We have something built specifically to some of our named competitors. So we're starting to look a little bit deeper and layering in not only just, hey, you did X and we heard this, but also what's changed across the landscape on the technologies that you might have been comparing against us. What can we bring to the table from that perspective? So all better ways to help you show up a little bit more relevant to that next email or the next phone call so that you can go wake the dead. So I think that takes us home now.
Yeah, but there's a quick question in the chat around this approach. What is kind of the timing and messaging of your follow-up? I know you have this as the process, but how many months and quarters did your team wait to follow up on lost deals? And Brent also wants to know, should AEs or SDRs do that follow-up?
I'm laughing because I have to answer it. It depends. Right? I hate answering these. It really doesn't. There's so many contextual follow-up layering questions you have to ask to give you the exact answer. But Brent, I'm just going to give you high level without knowing like the super nitty-gritty. So do I have a process? Yes. It's just as simple as adding a field, close loss reason, and putting in the description. And then from there, determine the timing and messaging of the follow-up. It all depends on what you were given, right? And so if you got a lot versus a not a lot, I always like to ask, hey, thanks for letting us know you're not moving forward at this time. I just ask for feedback. Like as a professional, Like, how can I have done better in this process? Like, what did I miss? And then now from that information and data set, I actually could probably have a really powerful follow-up on what I missed. Because sometimes it's like, hey, Morgan, you actually didn't miss anything. Like, we just fired somebody or we're hiring someone new and like we actually don't have control of this, whatever it is, right? So I want that context. I always tell people at bare minimum, follow up a quarter. Every quarter has different priorities and objectives. So every quarter is just an easy, simple way to think about it. And then I believe that the AE, well, here's the thing. If the AE had the deal, the AE should be following up. They had the relationship, they had the calls. An SDR coming out of nowhere might not make sense. But if it was an SDR and maybe they ran the disco or it was like a meeting that didn't go through, then the SDR should follow up. But I know some people work in pods, and that might be a different answer. So that's how I'd answer that.
Yeah. That's a really good take. One thing that I would just add too is like, how can you get SDRs more involved in this? I do think that at the end of the day, if the AE took the deal, they should be following up and they have the context and the tribal knowledge of what to bring to the table. However, and something that our Groove team did previously that I think is absolutely brilliant is they did a call blitz around finding renewal dates. So they took things like closed lost opportunities of accounts that they had met with, and they looked at the competitor that they said that they either had already or that they were planning to move forward with. And then the SDRs would take additional contacts across that org and go find out. All they were simply calling on and asking for was renewal dates. They weren't asking for a meeting or a time, but they were informing our CRM, which then helped our AEs to show up a little bit more strong from a timing perspective, right? At the end of the day, we all know it's an aspect of timing, right? And so getting those hard dates and knowing a little bit more about what's happening from a renewal perspective, if you're in a competitive account, is just another way that you can get SDRs involved in a way that's not so much so, let me go understand all the aspects of this opportunity and try to bring it back to life from that perspective.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. I feel like that was a golden nugget right there. So thank you for sharing that. But do you want to take us home, Derek, before we get into some Q&A? Because these 3 plays that you shared, I think that a lot of folks on this call can learn today from them.
Of course. So one thing that we wanted to just mention before we leave is all of the things that we are going to share with you all after this call, that we talked about after this call, are all plays that can be done right within Groove. And so what Groove does is just helps it make it a little bit easier for you to go out and execute some of those playbook ideas that we're talking about today. So not only do you have to, maybe for some of you that are individual contributors, you're going to take some of this and go run with it, and that's only going to help you. You're not going to be helping your peers around you. For those that are managers or directors or VPs or executives on this call, how do you make sure that you're replicating that across everyone? How do you make sure that everybody's waking the dead all at the same time as we head into Q4? That's something that Groove can help you with. So the call to action here is come hang out with us for a little bit, go grab a demo. We'll walk you through exactly what it looks like from our perspective, from a Wake the Dead, from a no value prop email perspective, how we're working through social and LinkedIn. We'd love to be consultants and help you to make sure that your team's taking advantage of all the great features as well.
And another really cool thing that we have is the Clary Prospecting Academy with Kyle Coleman. It's a free 6-part video series that shares the exact prospecting techniques Kyle used during his SDR days to generate millions in pipeline, no matter the market conditions. And not only do you get 6 videos, but you also get 5 free cheat sheets around LinkedIn prospecting. I actually threw the video messaging checklist in the chat. We also gave 35 attention grabbing subject lines that you can use, and a pro cold callers guide, and so much more. So this is a free academy that we have. You can sign up in the chat. It's amazing. I love it. And before we wrap, we got Morgan and Derek, icons over here. So any other questions for them? They have about 5-6 minutes to answer. I would love to pick their brain about anything. So feel free to drop it in the chat or in the Q&A box. Do you guys have any? Oh, is Clary available in other languages?
That's a great question. I would say, Daniel, feel free to reach out to us directly, and we'll get that answered for you for sure after this call.
Any other last minute tips and tricks or golden nuggets anybody can take away from the holiday slump? And just as I know you said December 18th, we're about 18 days away.
Yeah. I know we touched on this. I would say, yeah, it really does depend on the market. I'd probably say a voice message or voice note on a messaging. I think Tamara had a question there too on the LinkedIn connection request. We could talk about that one real quick, because I've had this commentary before, and I think it's actually important to note. So
Yeah.
this one right here, okay, conceptually makes sense, right? Why would someone accept a blank connection request? Actually, completely fair. To be transparent with you, I thought this wouldn't work at all. I was against this, but it's a couple things. Number one is most people have seen a personalized connection request, and it just says let's connect, mutual connections, etc. And I think people have gotten so annoyed by the personalized connection request that's actually turned a lot of people off, and they don't even read it, and they just ignore you. Now I know I think my boy Matt here talked about doing dad jokes, so like, all right, that's obviously a little bit different, right? We all can't do that, but that's the reason why typically personalized doesn't work. And then number two is with the blank note, you have to make sure that two things are in order: your profile picture and your headline. So if your headline is good, people could quickly scan that and realize, oh wait, that's probably maybe someone that could potentially help me. And also, a lot of people told me that it's just ambiguous. It's not like I don't really know what's happening here, so I'm gonna accept it because like they see that they not have like an intent to like immediately sell me, even though you could do that. But those are the reasons why people said that they would accept. But also, we're dealing with people. Like I know some people just wouldn't accept it. That's fine. So that's why I tell people, if you send the blank connection request first, it has a high acceptance rate, so you're playing with the numbers, then you could go and withdraw it and go send a personalized one. So you're not stuck to just sending the blank note. You can actually pivot from there. So that's the way that I would think about it.
I would add on that too, quickly. This is depends. It depends on who you are, right? If you have a really strong network and you've networked and you've been at a lot of different companies or you've been at a lot of different networking events or whatever it may be, you're probably going to have some mutual connections to some of those buyer profiles that you're trying to reach out to. And when you have mutual connections, I think like immediately people feel a little bit more comfortable connecting with you, right? Because you're feeling like, oh, maybe I know Morgan, or maybe Derek knows Morgan in some way, and I'm supposed to be having this connect. So you get kind of the art of possible from that perspective. But then the second is for those of you that are just still early in your career, it's a little bit harder, right? Like you're coming in, probably don't have a lot of experience on your LinkedIn. Even if someone does come take a look at it, to Morgan's point, if you don't have your LinkedIn fully built out to where it is your brand and the brand's very clear as far as what you do, how you're helping people, you have to start with that step first. So you're not going to be able to take advantage of some of these tips and tricks like sending a blank connection request if you're not taking those initial first steps, which is building your brand, connecting with people in your field, making sure you know who the thought leaders are, etc., so that when you do send that connect, you have some mutual connections potentially with your buyer. And then also they feel a little bit more comfortable with that profile for those of you that don't have that network built out yet and are just kind of in the early stages of your career.
Yeah.
We've got another question. I think this is the last one, around how do you effectively action close loss if the reasons and notes are not clear? Derek's smiling.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'll let Derek go in that one. Yeah, that's a Derek.
I have to go on this one because hi, Yelena. I know Yelena very well. Great question. I think it's tough. Like at the end of the day, like one of the things that I try to make sure with my team is like, what kind of I have them pride themselves on their notes, right? Because that's the reality that they're creating for the next seller that comes into that account is you don't know where to take this opportunity. But what I do with my team is look at some of the like I would say potential like reasons as to why they got into your CRM in the first place. So whether that's like events that they might have joined you for, some of the assets that they might have downloaded. So you can kind of get like a picture or an idea of what it was that they did come to the table for. And that's super helpful for us. So like diving into that Marketo information, understanding what pages they visited, if they've ever came in through like a chat bot at some point and had some sort of conversation. I know that's not always there, but that's the best plan of attack for me and my team when we don't have anything or the notes are super unclear. It's just like, what was that initial reason why they even came to you in the first place? Almost treating it more of like an outbound account.
Well, these were some great questions and such a fun webinar with everyone. Thank you, Derek and Morgan, for joining us. You gave us a lot of knowledge and things to think about and dropped a lot of golden nuggets. Thank you, everyone, for being on the call. You'll get the recording, all the assets, the cheat sheets. They're all coming to you soon. And listen to some holiday music. I think that was my biggest takeaway from the beginning.
Hey, I'm going to see the DMX.
Yeah, play that. That can be the closing music right now.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, y'all.